Joining us now, one of the presidential candidates who has said yes to debating on Spanish language television, Democratic Senator Christopher Dodd. Thanks for joining us, Senator.
Buenos tardes, Cheryl. Had to get that
I like
in.
that. I do. So you heard Susan's piece. Is it fair? You know, you speak Spanish. Do you have an advantage over the other candidates?
Well, I don't know, and I'm proud of the fact that I do. I was in the Peace Corps in Latin America and the Dominican Republic, and I speak it fairly well. I'd be careful about saying total fluency, but I'm grateful to the people in Puerto Rico and in the Dominican Republic that helped me learn that language. In fact, I wish we had more people in the country that spoke second languages. We talk about English being the national language. I agree with that, certainly. But I think we ought to be expressing more interest in people becoming conversant in other languages as well in the kind of world we're living in. So I look forward to it.
But do you suppose that's why the other candidates aren't joining, like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama?
No, I don't know if that's the reason or not, but I would hope, and again, it's going to be simultaneous translation, and the community respects the fact that not everybody is going to speak their language or speak it as fluently as they do. So I think it's more a question of being there to talk about the issues that are on their minds, and I think that we ought to welcome that and not shy away from it. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I plan on being there.
Let's talk about the forum yesterday, because you and Barack Obama really got into it. It was a heated exchange over Pakistan, and choosing your words carefully. Let's listen to a bit of that.
If we have actionable intelligence on al-Qaeda operatives, including bin Laden, and President Musharraf cannot act, then we should. Now, I think that's just common sense.
Okay, he says it was common sense. He also said that you didn't carefully read his speech and understand exactly what he was saying. Did you read his speech?
Yeah, I saw the speech, and if you go back and read the language, all the fact checkers have said I was right about it. He didn't say we should, he said we would. There's a big difference there, and that speech was important, and it was highly criticized, and rightfully so, here. You don't, first of all, engage in hypotheticals. You don't talk about unilaterally entering an ally's country here. Musharraf, look, I've said this before, the only thing that separates us from dealing with a fundamentalist Muslim state with nuclear weapons is General Musharraf, and talking about unilaterally entering his country, not that we should talk to him. The speech says we would do it here. There's a big difference, and I urge you to go back and look at the language.
So what would you do? I mean, if President Musharraf can't get to those al-Qaeda members and Osama bin Laden in the mountains of Pakistan, why shouldn't the United States go in and take action?
I'm not arguing about what we might do or might not do. The point is that words matter in presidential elections and from presidents. And when you announce unilaterally on your own that what you're going to do in a hypothetical situation here, you get the kind of reaction. There were demonstrations in Pakistan over a hypothetical question here with a presidential candidate making statements about it. That's dangerous. That shows a lack of nuance and understanding of the subtleties in conducting foreign policy.
So
that's a very legitimate issue.
What specifically would you do as president to rout out those al-Qaeda militants and Osama bin Laden that have been hiding out for months, for years in the mountains of Pakistan?
Well, wonderful. I take my troops out of Iraq and start putting them into Iraq and making it into Afghanistan, where the epicenter of terrorism is from al-Qaeda. That's the first thing I'd do, and provide the kind of leadership in the area that would allow us to deal with that, working with Musharraf and others, as we are, to some extent, getting help in western Pakistan and eastern Afghanistan to deal with it. But I wouldn't be around answering hypothetical questions here about unilaterally going. And I ask you to read the words in the speech given at the Wilson Center. And it's very clear, the language there, and all the fact checkers since last evening. Now, Barack Obama stepped back and last night said should. He's moderating his speech. That's all right if he wants to do it. But don't tell me that I've got to, I'm at fault for the 2002 conflict when Barack Obama in 2004 said that if he were voting today, he doesn't know how he would have voted on the Iraq resolution in 2002. And candidly, a little more straightforwardness, I think, is needed at this time.
Back to General Musharraf for just a second.
Yeah.
What more should he be doing to help the United States rout out these terrorists? What specifically should he be doing?
Well, I think specifically getting more help and military forces in those mountainous regions, which are very, very difficult in western Pakistan and eastern. That's those huge mountain ranges that are in there. It's very difficult terrain. He's bringing troops, I understand it, from the Indian border over to that area. We need more of that. And obviously getting more of our own forces on the ground there. And again, I emphasize the importance here of getting our troops out of Iraq as soon as we possibly can here, allowing Iraqis to decide what kind of a future they're going to have, and deal with the threat that all of us have to deal with, and that is, of course, coming out of Afghanistan.
Change the topic for just a second here. John Edwards has been talking about accepting money from lobbyists and special interest groups, and he's been concentrating his efforts on Hillary Clinton. She says she's not going to do it. She's still going to accept money. How about you?
Well, I do, accept, and not just from lobbyists here, but from people around the country here. I'm an advocate of public financing of campaigns. That's what I've advocated for years and years. I'm deeply worried about what money means in politics at every single level here. But it's a little disingenuous here to be talking about just the Washington lobbyists, as if lobbyists from some other place are okay, but the lobbyists there are bad. It seems to me, look, everybody's accepting money from different places in order to run a campaign here. The system is broken terribly. It's outrageous. And going back 13 or 14 years, I managed the campaign finance reform bills on the floor of the Senate, been an advocate of public financing. I would fundamentally alter this as president if I could, so we wouldn't have to have this debate about whether or not you like my lobbyists or your lobbyists. The fact of the matter is the system isn't working well, it's dangerous, and it needs to be changed.
Well, it's not going to be changed soon, and I think the American people, have the impression that because you accept money from these lobbyists and special interest groups, that you can't separate out your politics.
Well, I've not had that problem. I think if people look back over this, I'll take a backseat to no one, and my determination to do everything I can to protect people dealing with credit cards and subprime lenders, student loans. I have a long and strong record of being an advocate for consumers and people and receiving support from a long, wide range of individuals and people who believe that I'm a good senator, done a good job here. Again, I'd like to see the system changed, but the assumption because someone receives money from a lobbyist is bad, but if you got it from the corporate executive, it's okay. I don't think that distinction really flies. It's sort of insulting to the intelligence of people to assume it's just about the money. What did you do with your vote? How did you vote on the bankruptcy bill? What did you do about estate taxes that were coming up here? Looking at those votes and where they were may be more important to people than whether or not you got a check from a lobbyist.
Senator Dodd, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Cheryl.